This episode of the Berry Chronicles is proudly brought to you by Bariatric Support Australia.
Hi everybody, I'm Tash.
And I'm Damo.
And together we are so excited to bring you this week's episode of The Berry Chronicles. Damo, I'm excited for this.
Yeah. We've spoken to GPs about, how to approach GPs. We've talked to them about, how we can relay what we need to say to them and the discussions that we can have. But I thought today I could talk about my experience needing to find a new GP.
Yeah.
Now, when we moved from Sunshine Coast down to Geelong, I had to leave my GP of, 12 years or something. So we moved down here, and that was one of my biggest concerns, actually, was knowing that I'd need to find a new GP.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stressful thing, right?
Yeah.
When you've been getting along with somebody for years and, things seem like it's going well or whatever, or it's going like you can bear to go there.
So I have chronic pain, and I've been under a pain management doctor for many years.
You're old enough to say many years.
I am.
And I'm older than that.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yep.
When dinosaurs roamed the earth.
We're old as fuck.
And older.
Yeah.
I wasn't this grey.
No. Yes, anyway, sorry, Damo. Intrusive thoughts again.
So I went to a doctor, and I actually really liked him.
Let's be honest. He's my GP.
Yes. And he's been fantastic.
Yep. Really, really good.
But whether it's the practice, whatever it is, he was a bit hesitant. Well, not a bit, a lot hesitant about prescribing some of my pain medication. And this has been ongoing since we moved down in 2022.
October
of 22. And up until sort of 6 weeks ago, he would begrudgingly do my scripts, even though he had a letter, many letters from my pain specialist explaining what I was on, why I was on it, and the need for that. But it got to the point where he actually said to me that he would need a letter every month from my pain specialist before he would prescribe my medications. And the thought of needing to do that.
But there's also the expense of doing that as well.
Yeah.
Nothing's changing.
No.
Like nothing's any different. Your prognosis is that this is how it is.
Yes. And I've been able to come down off a lot of painkillers that I was on. And learning to live my life with the pain, but making the most of every day. The extra expense of having to see a pain specialist every month, but also not being able to get an appointment every month.
Yeah, 100%.
It really got to a point where I just had to go, you know what, this isn't working for me.
Yeah, I completely get it.
And that brings up a whole heap of other issues, because every time you go to a doctor, you have to go through all the stuff. And
we all know what all the stuff is as well. Like,
yes.
as bariatric people, we know that when we go to see any health provider, there is always that little bit, even now, even for me, even now, inside me. I mean, look, just as an example. So I've been to a doctor who, I was just going to the GP. I was actually unwell. This was probably 2 years ago now, and he was using the stethoscope on my chest, and he went to do that. I lifted, my shirt up, and he's like, oh my God, all that skin. What's that from?
Did you say, I'm just growing it?
I wonder what it's from. I felt like growing it. I said, yeah, well, I've lost a lot of weight. Oh, that must be so uncomfortable.
I'm a snake.
Yeah, I'm a slithery snake. No. So I said to him, yeah, look, I lost a lot of weight. Well, don't you think maybe, would you like me to write a referral so that you can, get some of that skin taken care of? I said, I already did. Like, this is the taken care of version. So that was fun. So even now, going to the doctor as a person that doesn't look like, on the outside, doesn't look like I've ever had a bariatric issue, I still have issues. So it's definitely possible to feel anxiety going to the doctor.
Yeah.
So.
And, have that, plus add to that the script for the opiates. And I'm not on a lot, but there is a stigma that comes with that as well. And so suddenly I'm faced with, okay, I need to find another GP. And I'd really struggled with it for a couple of weeks because, I just didn't want to have to face it. But sort of got to a point where I'm running out of pain meds, so I need to be able to get my prescriptions. I rang a couple of clinics, and finding many with vacancies can be really hard. But then, and I guess this is where I've changed, in that I decided that I wanted to find a GP that would work with me on my terms, that wasn't making me feel like I was just drug seeking, and that would actually work with my pain management team.
Yeah, that's very important.
And it's sort of a big order because, GPs, we sort of expect them to know everything.
And look, that's a huge ask, isn't it?
It is.
Like, they're incredibly highly trained professionals that know a lot of the different things, but they have to know so much about so many things.
Yeah. And
that's why we have specialists that specialize in particular things.
Yeah, because no one can know a lot about everything. And I've come to understand that because, I've got multiple diagnoses with stuff. I really wanted to find someone who was happy to work with all my specialists.
Yep.
To give me what I need, the care, and just so that I'm not stressing out every single time I've got to go to the doctor. Am I going to be able to get my prescriptions this time? Because even with the previous GP, if he was away, the other GPs in the clinic wouldn't fill any of my prescriptions. And, that it caused a lot of anxiety for me just going to the doctor. So here's where I decided to do things differently. I started ringing around doctors and really wasn't getting the information. So I jumped on, there's an app called HotDoc, and it...
Write that down.
Write that down, HotDoc. It lists doctors, specialists, and what their interests are. But I also just went to Google and went GPs that deal with chronic pain near Geelong. And it actually returned a couple of hits. So I rang this one clinic and I said to the receptionist exactly what I was wanting. And it was amazing. The receptionist said, "You want to see Dr. Joe?" And I was like, okay, if that's who you recommend. I said, when would I be able to get an appointment? And she said, oh, he's just had a cancellation. You can see him in 2 hours. And I was like, what? You know, because, I mean, we're all used to having to wait to get in to see doctors.
It's like the sun, moon, and stars aligned. And
yes, bang, I had this appointment. Went there, and we were talking, and he actually said to me, so prescriptions do you need? I said, I don't need any today. And he looked a bit confused, and he said, so why are you here today then? I said, I'm here to interview you. And, you know, he actually smiled. He said, you came to see if I'm a good fit for what you need. And I said, yes, that's exactly it. I said, because I'm not going to just go with the flow of, you know, whatever is thrown at me anymore. We pay a lot of money to see GPs. Very few do bulk billing anymore. And I understand that as well, because
absolutely,
you know, they work hard, and people deserve to be paid for their work. So I was still a little bit, you know, but we had a really good chat, and it was very a comfortable chat. And Kim was with me. I made Kim come with me because I was honestly
very
scared,
anxious about
it. Going to the GP.
But you were still very brave. I think that was really brave.
Yeah, and that's what I've come to realise, that, you know, if we're going to advocate for ourselves, then we actually need to advocate and not just talk about it.
That's right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with going to doctors or specialists and seeing if that's a good fit for us.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, there are some specialists that I have seen that I would never go back to, and there are some that I would go to another state to see them if I had to.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think when we decide on what we can or will and won't accept, I think that's really empowering. You know, I was able to walk into that going, you know, I have no expectations of this person right now. I'm just going to tell them my story and see if he's a right fit for what I've got going on. And I ended up leaving there with prescriptions, because he said, he looked up all my records, and he said, you're going to run out in 5 days. Where are you getting your next script from? I said, I don't know. I said, I can't get into my pain specialist for another couple of months. He said, well, then I'll write it out and we'll go from there. You know, so I actually left with
something that you weren't expecting.
Something I wasn't expecting. And, you know, that was probably one of the most empowering GP visits I've ever had.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and to the point that he even wrote out a blood test form, and he was aware of, you know, the need for the blood tests after weight loss surgery, so he ordered all of them. He ordered the tests for my type 2 diabetes and everything. You know, I just walked away going, yeah, he actually listened.
That's awesome. And I think that it's such an important lesson for all of us, like, to learn. And I do believe that there are brilliant and wonderful medical professionals who are willing to work with us like that.
Yeah.
Who are willing to take that time and listen. And it might just be, you know, a case of interviewing, or, you know, kissing a few frogs before we find that, you know, that person that's going to be right for us. But honestly, it's definitely worth taking that time, you know, to make sure that we're getting what we need.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if we can't look after ourselves and take our health into our own hands, as great as all the doctors and specialists are. They're not living with us 24 hours.
That's right. This is something that Damo and I often talk about. We often talk about the fact that we have to advocate for ourselves, but we have to understand ourselves enough to know when we need help in an area. So obviously with the pain management issues and things for Damo, he has sought out the appropriate help that he needed, and then he needed to scaffold that by having a GP that's willing to implement the plan that the specialist has put into place. Yeah. We have that with our weight loss surgery as well, with our bariatric procedures. You know, we get lined up with psychologists, with dietitians, sometimes exercise physiologists. We might have a physiotherapist involved. We might have an endocrinologist involved. You know, there can be lots of different professionals that are involved in our care. But if we don't make the effort to invest into ourselves and actually see those professionals and ensure that the plans are enacted, then it's just a waste of our time.
Yeah.
And we're not putting that value back into ourselves that we need to put in.
Yeah. Like if I hadn't have gone to that new GP and if he hadn't done the blood test, then when I went and saw my endocrinologist on Monday, he wouldn't have had that information that he was able to go, okay, well, this is where we need to go with the diabetes medication and
yeah, that's right.
You know, to treat that. You know, we need to be able to have that forethought. I really see a GP as the one that sort of brings it all together.
I agree. I totally agree with you. They're like the thumb.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
They hold everything together.
Hold everything together. And it is just so important, you know, because they're the ones that we see the most often.
Yeah, that's right.
Any chronic conditions or, you know, during our weight loss journey.
You'll definitely see your GP far more often than you see your dietitian, far more often than you'll see your psychologist, or then you'll see your bariatric surgeon for sure.
Yeah.
So it's just such an important relationship to have, and such an important and empowering relationship to know that we're going to be traveling on the same path. I love, Damo, that you interviewed them, and it's not from a place of any kind of arrogance or anything, is it? It's just genuinely from a place of wanting to understand, okay, is this person going to be able to walk this journey with me?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, when he said, yes, I work with these specialists already, you know, I may have actually had a couple of tears because it just felt like I'd found my fit.
Yeah, which is really good.
And, you know, it is so important. You know, these journeys that we're on can be so challenging and they're life-changing. And if we don't have those professionals in place that we can trust, that we can go to and say, hey, look, you know, things aren't traveling so well at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, it leaves a lot to chance. And I don't want to leave my health to chance anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think for us, probably, you know, being a bit older, excuse me, like there's that element of chronic health conditions that have come about just because of how long we've also lived on the planet. But for, you know, for younger people, like, get yourself set up with all of those things now. You know, so that you can go through your 20s, 30s, 40s feeling on top of things and having that really empowered type of relationship. I wish that I'd been far more proactive in my own health far earlier on, but we can't undo that. All we can do is go from now and really just engage in those positive connections that we can forge, you know, from here on out.
Yeah. So I would encourage everyone, you know, if you are looking for a new GP, or if you feel like, you know, you may have come to the end of a journey with your current GP, be brave enough to have a look and be
Yeah.
brave enough to call, and just it doesn't hurt to ask.
That's right.
And honestly, I think the way things are these days, I think more doctors are open to that.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
So, we don't need to just be fearful and holding back because, what will happen. And sure, there might be some that,
not open to that
not
kind
open
of
to that.
interaction. That's fine too.
And that's fine. If that's not a fit for you, then it's okay to find someone else.
Zing zang on out of there.
Good chat.
Great chat, Damo.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you all have a fantastic week. And we'll talk soon.
Talk soon.